Dearest gentle reader, we have been apart for far too long. G'day everyone and welcome back to another Catch Up with Kiralee. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kiralee and on this channel we talk about all things cosplay, costuming and sewing related. And today we are talking about the costumes and styling of Season 3 Bridgerton. As of recording this, Season 3 Part 2 dropped yesterday and Terry and we watched it all last night. I have many thoughts and feelings, but we're gonna leave that to one side and just talk about the costumes in this. And let me tell you right now, there may be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out before you watch this video. Otherwise, let us discuss. So the very first thing that I want to say, first and foremost, is that this season was the best season, in my opinion, to date for costumes and styling. It was chef's kiss, absolutely incredible. The costumes overall used colour and texture to really elevate the storyline, I felt, and to give principal characters their moment of how they were feeling at a particular point through their costumes. How they did this, how they navigated this throughout the entire season was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, and so many of those costumes I want to make now. So before we begin breaking down some of my favourite characters from this season, I do want to stress with all of my heart, that Bridgerton is a fantasy set in Regency period. So this hate that they still seem to be getting from some people in relation to it not being, you know, period accurate, I just can't anymore, guys. I just can't. We are 3 seasons into this, and we also had Queen Charlotte as well. Like, it is fantasy. So let's start off with the girl, the one, the only Penelope. My girl, I love her so very much, and this season was about her. Like, it was about her. Like, it was meant to be Penelope and Colin, but I'm gonna say that the season was mostly about Penelope. And like, I loved it, but I also, like, I wanted it to be Colin and Penelope more. Like, if you read the books, you'll know what I mean. I have many thoughts on this, but you know what? We are only gonna discuss costumes. Okay, let's continue. So the first dress that we see Penelope this season is one of her dresses from, I think, season 1 that they just put more stuff onto. And it is fantastically Featherington, over the top. I love it. I still love it. Like, it's citrus, it's pink, it's just everything going on with it. I love it, but it is meant to be the most hideous dress, the most Featherington dress, and it's meant to represent, obviously, where Penelope is coming from as we enter into this season. But then at the first main ball, Penelope walks in what I coined as her villainess dress. Let me explain why I called it the villainess dress, even though it's not. It's because in that moment, as she's entering the ball, she's lost her best friend. She knows that the man that she has loved for years really does not like her in that way and never will like her in that way. And she knows she needs to put it all behind her and just find a husband, because living at home is nauseating for her. And that dress, I fell in love with it the moment I saw the promo images. I was like, I need this in my life. That emerald green with the shot satin of it being copper. Oh my goodness me, it was gorgeous. And then the long black gloves with the like glitter or the twinkles to it. It's so pretty, and it is so complimentary to her. It is her as her for the first time stepping out. She has this dark, mysterious look about her. She is working it. She is turning heads, and I am living for it. But then, of course, as soon as she's made her like little entry into it all and people start talking to her, the old Penelope comes out and her foot constantly gets stuck in her mouth. And so at the end of the party, when she's been thoroughly humiliated by all these men and Cressida, she leaves. And then, you know, Colin follows her. And all of this like anger that has been building up inside of her just comes out and is directed at Colin. And you know what? Fair. And of course this interaction leads to them actually forming an alliance so that Colin can help Penelope secure a husband. From there, we start seeing Penelope wearing all of these dresses that are quite muted. They are seafoam green and teals, and a lot of them are either blues and greens. So we have blue of the Bridgerton house and green of the Featheringtons combined. And we also see blue dresses with pink accents. Once again, Bridgerton blue, Featherington pink. Even while she's courting Lord Debling, it is very clear that her heart still belongs to Colin through the use of the colours and the way that the dresses are styled. And can I just say, Lord Debling, not too bad. So then we move into the second half of the season, and it's very interesting what happens with Penelope's dresses from here. For the most part, she is still dressed in the same kind of lightish hues with the blues and the pinks and like the greens and the blues mixed together. But there are two dresses that stand out for me. The first one is the dress that she wears to the viewing of where their breakfast is going to be after the wedding. And she is wearing this deep coloured dress again. And it's this deep coloured dress, which is a mixture of Featherington colours and Bridgerton colours. But it is very, very dark. And this to me signifies partly her unhappiness, but mostly it is once again her. We have a callback to when she comes into that room, into that ball the very first time after she changes her wardrobe, and it is her coming through into that space. And I love it because at that point in time she has this very frosty relationship with Colin. She doesn't know if he is ever going to love her again, and yet they're still going to go through this wedding because clearly he loves her and she loves him with all of her heart. But at that point in time they're just angry with each other, or rather Colin is angry at Penelope and Penelope is like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So what does she do? She dresses herself in a darker version of her costumes, and it is stunning. Like I love the darker colours. They're so pretty. And the second dress of the second half of the season was the dress she wears to her sister's ball. This dress is relatively simple in comparison to all the other crazy dresses that are being worn at that party. However, it is elegant, it is simple, it has some sparkle to it, but most importantly, the colour. The colour is this green blue, but it is dark. And once again, it is that dark colour that I am holding on to that just goes, you know what, these dark colours, I think, are Penelope when she is expressing herself as Penelope. Not Penelope Featherington or Penelope Bridgerton or even Lady Whistledown. It's just her. It's her as all of these three different names. And to be honest, I absolutely loved that. And the last point I want to make about Penelope before we move on is the fact that her seam line of where her bust meets her skirt was lowered this season. And I have been screaming since the beginning of making these videos, Bridgerton season 1 all those years back. Go watch that video if you haven't already. I was saying that they were making the bust point too high for a particular reason. It's not that they couldn't fit plus size women, it's because Penelope was being dressed by her mother and her mother did not know how to dress her to show off her womanly figure, because her sisters are not built like her, and also because Penelope is the youngest, she is meant to be like, her mother sees her as a child, always sees her as a child and not a woman, until this season when Penelope steps out at the ball and her mother goes, huh, all right. There was a little bit of rage in me, and I was like, validation, when I saw her step out in her ball outfit. And then for the rest of the season, like, everything was tailored beautifully to Penelope's body. Let's move along now to the antagonist of this season, Cressida. Now, Cressida's dresses have been getting a lot of flack on the internet because of her massive sleeves mostly, but I love them. Let's also not forget that Cressida has always been a bit much, and in some ways fashion forward, but like too much fashion forward. This is not a new concept. Cressida's dresses, although she has been a minor player for most of the seasons up until this point, she was a major player in this season, and for good reason. Even in the book, Cressida is the main antagonist of Penelope. There is like this unrivaled hate that she has for her. I don't even think Cressida understands where it comes from. It comes out and is directed at Penelope. And this season, the costume designers grabbed it and then ran with it, and I am here for it. In an interview that the costume designers had, they discussed that Cressida's dresses, the sleeves were insane, and the silhouette was to give the idea of a bird, because she is a bird trapped in a cage. And it's because of this that we start feeling a bit of sympathy for Cressida's character. I don't know if I like feeling sympathy for Cressida's character, but I did this season. And you know what? I will appreciate that the costumes helped me come to that point. But let's also not just point out the sleeves, let's point out her hair. Her hair has always been styled in the wackiest do's. Like, Featheringtons are wacky, but Cressida, she's real wacky. So you have this hair, you've got the sleeves, she looks like a bird, and because the actress is so tall and so thin, she's model-esque, like she's gorgeous. And you know, putting this on her, she's the only one who could carry it off. But I also have a theory, and this has not been proven, it's just my own theory. Cressida, as we have established, or rather I thought that I have established, is fashion forward. And forgive me, but the hair and the sleeves are giving me 1830s, but fantasy. Like, come on, you see it, right? The 1830s was notorious for large, insane sleeves and hairstyles that were whacked. I also want to point out a few of my favorite Cressida looks from this season that were iconic to her story within the context of the larger story. And both of these looks came in the second half of this season. Don't get me wrong, those dresses in the first half were incredible. The dress with like the actual feathers that were huge, and also the big flower sleeves that literally were like twice the size of her body. Oh my goodness me, yes. But let's talk about Cressida's oh my goodness moment. The red dress. This is the dress that Cressida walks into a ball that she has not been invited to, that she has announced essentially to the Queen and also to, you know, a select few of the ton. Everyone knows by now, of course. But she walks in this red dress. Now, red is not a colour that we've seen in Bridgerton to date. We've seen burgundy, absolutely, you know. Agatha Danbury is working that all the time, but not red. Red is the colour of danger, of intrigue, of signs that say stop. I love when the colour red is used. And she is dressed from head to toe in red and walks in, and she has these massive kind of like sleeves, but not sleeves, they're behind her. It's like a big bow, and it is like a peacock tail almost, as she struts on in, and little gems over her face coming from her hair. Oh, that look! I love it so much because it is so out of place, and yet it is perfect for that moment. because it is where she officially announces to the ton that she is Lady Whistledown. She wants all heads turned on her. This is her make or break situation, and she is going to make it because she has no option in her mind. Also, shout out to her pink dress that she wore to try and like get Eloise to kind of come to the dark side and write with her as Lady Whistledown. It gave me Barbie vibes, like just all the pink bows that just like wrapped around her, and the bow turned into the sleeves. Me as Kiralee loved that. Kind of want to make it just for myself. However, the second dress that I actually want to talk about of Cressida's is when Colin goes to see Cressida to try and negotiate with her and try to get to her to listen to reason. This is a pink dress, a very normal color that we see Cressida wear. However, I don't know if this was just lights playing trick on me, but I don't think it was, because like every shot that I could see her in, it was happening. It looked like she was wearing sheer gloves that went up into the sleeve of her dress, and the gloves from the fingertips up were ombre dyed so that they were dark pink, and then they faded out to her skin color. Now I don't know if this was just the trickery of the light or whatever, but if it was like actual gloves, yes, because it is almost missable. But what it did was it showed us that her hands were essentially dipped in blood. It's that whole Lady Macbeth kind of, wash these hands because it's not coming off, the blood is not coming off. It is the feeling of guilt, but also having no other way but to move forward. And oh, I am a theatre nerd, I am a geek for it, and it just made complete sense for Cressida. She once again had no option. This is her last chance. She has lost everyone, her family, her money, her friends, everyone. The only option she has is to blackmail Penelope and get enough money so that she can live some sort of life that makes her happy, and the blood is on her hands. Alright, let's quickly move on and give some honourable mentions as well. So Eloise this year is a little bit more fashion forward. She is a lot softer than we've seen her in previous seasons, and that is because of a friendship with Cressida. However, as that friendship sours, you know, and Eloise finally reconnects with Penelope, which made me so happy. Like, I think it made us all happy. Like, I was more happy with that than I think I was at points with Penelope and Colin getting together, to be fair. And I think that Eloise then kind of returned a little bit more to herself by the end of the season, but still has a certain softness to her as well. And all of her clothing reflected that. I loved the soft fabrics that we used in pretty much all of her gowns. It was nice. Also a shout out to Kate Sharma, aka Kate Bridgerton now, and her incredible dress that she wore when planning Penelope and Colin's engagement party. It was just a beautiful mix of Regency England and also, you know, the sari kind of inspiration that was weaved into that as well. And the colouring was perfect. It was a dark Bridgerton blue, which is perfect for her and perfect for being the Viscountess. And the Featheringtons, well, they were perfectly unhinged in this season, and I will never ever ever stop loving their fashions. They were so over the top, and as the season progressed, I felt like they just got crazier and crazier as the two daughters especially were trying to outdo each other. It was hilarious, and I loved it, and I loved their final ball, and I loved the fact that the two of them came together and kind of just had this moment of, I love you, I love you too. Like, it was beautiful, and I felt like their dresses really encapsulated that. Also, I want to give a special shout out to the costume designers for thinking about the ensemble this season as they work through the different balls that they all attended. The flower ball was beautiful and so colourful. Like, to me, they were all Featherington dresses, and I was like, what is going on here? And then the final ball that the Featherington Sisters actually throw, you know, everyone is dressed so beautifully and just kind of adds to the heightenedness of the scene with everything that is happening. It is, I love it. I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. So that was incredible, and watching the tone shift with the ensemble throughout the entire season. And finally, let's discuss the men. And when I say men, I mostly mean Colin, because we saw a lot of Colin this season. I'm not upset by it. Firstly, we have his traveling outfit, which makes him look like a dashing pirate. It works. It really works. He is trying to be someone that he's not. He is charming. He is suave. I mean, he always was those things, but this season it was like for a different purpose. He was wanting to woo women and, you know, be a rake, which is just not really within Colin's nature. He is not Anthony or Benedict. He is kinda. But he certainly had fun playing with our alter ego of himself. But what I also really liked about Colin this season, that we saw a lot of him in this kind of pared down look of him wearing a shirt with like a vest over the top, and the vests were gorgeous. There were 3 vests that in particular I loved. The first one was an embroidered vest, which gave me real Regency vibes. However, the embroidery itself was very colourful, which made me go, oh, well, hello there. And I loved that they brought in some colour for Colin. The next vest was featured quite a few times, and this is his hero vest. This is the vest that he wears that is like black with like brown copper kind of chevron stripes going in that look like they've been painted on. It's a little bit rough and roguish, and I love it. This is the one that he uses when he saves Penelope from being crushed by the balloon at a very slow pace. Like, seriously, Penelope, you could have got up and just like run off. Like, come on. But we got to see him flex his muscles while Benedict in the background was like, eh! It was great. We established that, you know, Colin was the hero of the hour in that scene, and that's what that scene needed to be. And he was wearing that vest for that, which was, you know, a pared down gentleman look, a little bit not quite refined, but perfect. And then he wears that vest throughout parts of the rest of the season as well, when he is, you know, essentially declaring his love for Penelope. And he's still angry, but it's paired with this kind of like want to be better than he is. And then the last vest I want to talk about was the vest that he wore the night before his wedding. And this vest definitely has callbacks to the kind of roguish vest, because I believe that it is black with the brown stripes going in a chevron, I believe, but it is a lot more refined. Once again, this could have been trickery of the light, but when he was going through his house after he and Penelope had had a very passionate, steamy kiss, and he's questioning, like, okay, I love this woman, but also, like, she's lied so much, and I don't know if I can trust her, and he's going through all of these emotions, but really, at the heart of it, he is jealous and he is envious of her. As he's walking through the darkened house, the light reflects on his vest, and those stripes look green. Whose colour is green? Penelope's, but it's also the colour of envy. Ah, the meaning of colours. I need to rewatch that scene, but I remember watching that and that just like green standing out to me. I just was like, wow. Yes, oh my gosh, Colin is wearing Penelope's colours for once, and it is because he is envious of her. In conclusion, overall I thought that this season's costumes and styling was top notch. It was incredible. And I loved the choice of colors, the playing of colors, mixing them together, and just creating a beautiful story purely from the images that we were seeing. I loved that the costume designers played with color and textures and put them on characters at particular points where it suited the characters. There's nothing that really felt out of place to me. And don't even say Cressida's sleeves, because I loved every single one of those big sleeves. Of course, all of this is just my opinion. I know that people disagree with me, and that is absolutely fine, but 10 out of 10. Also, I want to give a special shout out to my amazing patrons, especially the $10 a month tier patrons, who are
Justin Ghosty, Fangirl X, Sam M, Monica, Lulu Rush Cosplay, Sotaku, Miss Twisted, Milthrog Teacup, and Barbara Lee.
Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one.